and welcome to episode 5 of What Are You Playing with your host. If you're watching on video, I hate this white background. It makes my face too white. So, sorry. Welcome to episode 5, or What Are You Playing? I'm your host, Derek, and I'm joined with two special guests. One I've had on here previously, so I'm going to say hi to him first. Hey, Jesse, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Yep, it's always a joy to talk to Jesse. And then, well, I've talked to this guy a lot, but never on a damn podcast. And I don't know if this will be this is definitely his first, but it may be his last if he doesn't behave. And that's Gaston. Welcome, Gaston.
Hello. It's funny because we're missing Tim, and it will be the Sea of T reunion we have.
No, we don't need Tim. We don't need Tim.
We're missing him, and that will be like the reunion.
You're missing Tim. I'm definitely not missing Tim. No, I love you, Tim. So anyways, this is episode 5. I'm glad to have these two guys here. We're gonna kick things off differently. Look, I'm well aware the other main podcast, the Current Gen podcast, handles the news. They handle shows and movies and all that stuff, and I try to stay away from that because I want that to be their thing, and I just want to focus on video games. But I have been very interested in a lot of the news that's been breaking in games media this past week. And I think it's okay if we start the show talking to you two about it. And here's why I want to have a conversation with you two. One, I've known Jesse, I think we said the first time we did this show together, I think we've known each other online for like 10 years.
Yeah, it's been right around 10 years.
Yeah, and Jesse is a big Xbox fan. I don't consider you a fanboy, I would tell you. But you definitely have always leaned more Xbox than PlayStation, definitely more than Nintendo.
Yeah.
And you're not really a PC elitist snob like me. So you're definitely, I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're more of an Xbox guy over all other gaming platforms, right?
It's definitely my primary platform. I definitely play lots of video games on PlayStation and the occasional game on Nintendo. And I do have a Steam Deck, but Xbox is my primary platform.
Cool. But and I've had plenty of conversations with you. You're pretty objective. So I think we can have a good conversation about some of the stuff that's going on with Xbox. And Gaston, you're pretty agnostic. You pretty much, it's whatever. You'll play wherever there's a good game. So you do have an Xbox. Is it a Series X or did you get the Series S?
No, like I grew up always with a PS console, like PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I did want an Xbox. I like Halo. It looked fun. I would want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Instinct looked fun, which I do. Recore, of course, I have to mention it. Like there is exclusive.
No, you really don't have to mention Recore. That's
I
a
will.
Reno.
I
That's a
will.
Reno.
I
Renault.
will.
No.
But so I always wanted one. So Starfield was like hey, now or never. So I got the Series X and
Okay, you did get the Series X.
yeah, the Series
Okay,
X,
good.
and I know that I enjoy playing more on Xbox than PS5. But in the end, I'm neutral. I always say I'm neutral. That's how I see it.
I feel like, and again, I've actually known you online. Again, this is all
For
online relationships.
more
For
than
probably
10
like
years.
14, 15 years.
Yes.
Which
Yes,
is
I
kind of
know
crazy.
you. I remember hearing your voice for the first time back in. Man, they
And
were
you
like
thought,
14 years.
gosh, dang, that's an
What a
alpha male
loser.
right there.
No, what a loser. Like that how you sound like? God damn,
You know what,
man.
Gaston? Like I said, first and definitely last. You're out of here. Get him out of here. All right, so let's jump in. We've all established that we like Xbox. I think some people would listen to our show and probably think I'm an Xbox fanboy. They really don't know me. They're third on my list of preferred consoles. They did used to be first. I did like the ecosystem the most. I was a big 360 fan. I did love my PS3, but I was a big 360 fan. They started losing me a little bit with the Xbox One, not fully, but I definitely started siding more with PlayStation. I just found I like the exclusives there more. And then this gen, honestly, they've pretty much lost me. The only way they can get me back is if they start releasing good games and stop talking. But that's what we're actually going to talk about, them talking. So the big news, and I'm sure most people listening are aware, it was announced that Xbox is closing 4 studios. I'll be honest with you, 2 of them I don't care about. I really only, unless you guys care about them, I only really want to talk about Tango Games and oh, why am I forgetting? Arcane.
Austin.
Yes, Arcane Austin. Some people were confused. They saw Arcane and they jumped to conclusions that all of Arcane is closed. That is not the case. Arcane split into 2 studios. This is the Austin studio, Austin, Texas. The Lyon, which I believe is in France, is the main Arcane studio. That's where they basically most of their hits come from that studio.
With the
I'm
exception
not.
of Prey.
I would say, well, I would say Prey's a good game, not a hit. It actually failed pretty bad. Also, they did Dishonored 2 Outsider DLC,
Yeah,
which
definitely
I
the Outsider.
played. Yeah, and that one was really good. So they are talented.
And
They're
Redfall.
good.
And Redfall.
Oh, we'll
You,
get to
you
Redfall.
you said you like Redfall. I remember
Uh,
it.
well, we're gonna talk Redfall. So I'm really gonna just focus on those 2 studios, and again, unless you guys have any opinions on the other 2, but I wanted to just kind of talk about it with from y'all's perspective or get your opinion. What was your first initial thought when you heard this news? What was your reaction? Not what it changed into or morphed into as more information came out. What was your first thought when you first heard the news of the 4 closures?
Jesse, you first.
I was shocked, to be honest. I was genuinely surprised when I heard about it. Particularly with Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. I was very, very surprised. That was my initial reaction, was just genuine shock.
Surprised? Was there any anger, sadness, frustration? Did that come later?
I wouldn't necessarily say there was any anger there, mostly because both of those studios, the games that they have made, haven't necessarily been games that I've really connected with.
Okay.
But anytime studios close, it just sucks. It's sad for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. And then Gaston, your initial thoughts or reaction when you heard the news?
I was laughing. I was laughing because I had a conversation with my brother about Redfall DLCs. Like, kind of weird they didn't drop the DLC yet. And
No,
I
and I
and
paid
I
for the $100 version, by the way.
see the one I saw first was Arcane. Redfall DLC
Yeah, yeah.
canceled. So I started laughing a bit, like, holy shit. Like, they should win there. And then I saw Tango, and it hit me a bit more of sadness because I kind of wanted Hi-Fi Rush too. That was the one I
Yeah.
like the most. So
So
when it
your initial reaction was it was a little humorous because of Redfall, but
when I
then it
realized
kind of hit you
Tango,
like, damn, I'm
yeah,
not gonna get Hi-Fi Rush
yeah.
too.
When I
Yeah.
realized also Tango got closed, because I didn't see them yet. I was like, oh, who's the other one? Tango?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. And then
I think that's the one I'm gonna talk about the most. But yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
and the last one was Alpha Dog Games.
Which is a
Yes.
mobile
Yeah,
developer.
yeah, but they made Mighty Doom. I play it. I thought it was okay. It's a little dumb because like it Doom, so I'm like, they tried to do something with Doom.
I gave it a try also.
Oh, is that like a mobile Doom
Yeah, a
game?
phone game.
Yeah,
It's a phone
Okay.
game.
it's a
Okay.
fun game. But it was like a
Yeah.
little
Okay.
like, hey, I play it, so I can understand that feeling.
Okay. So I would say my initial reaction was, and I promise anybody listening to me, and I follow all this stuff. I'm real big on businesses, so sometimes I get called like a bootlicker and all that crap. But the reality is, I believe I'm pretty knowledgeable of how businesses work. I was not surprised of closures, and my initial reaction isn't Xbox sucks like that. I don't do that. I'm like, dude, these guys just spent a gazillion dollars on a bunch of publishers. There's going to be closures, or there's going to be where they're going to release some teams or kind of merge teams with other teams. And then obviously when you merge, you're taking the best and getting rid of the rest, which essentially that stuff didn't get released, but I'm sure that's what they've done to a certain extent. They probably notified a lot of these developers that this was happening, and that the ones that they wanted, they probably have already merged some of them, and then the rest they just let go.
Well, one of those studios, that's exactly what's happening. Is they're being
Yeah.
merged into ZeniMax,
Yes.
the ESO team. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am going to talk about that a little bit later, because I ended up watching a lot of stuff today, and there's some interesting points that were made that I was like, oh yeah, cool. So my initial reaction is not surprised by closures. I wasn't surprised by Arcane Austin. In fact, as somebody who paid, I didn't pay $100. I paid $80. That's still a lot for the $100 version of Redfall, and played all the way through it. So I beat the campaign. I even booted it up 2 days ago and started it up a new game plus as well. And I didn't hate the game. I wasn't surprised that they were trashed, because they really did fail to make a good game. And you have to
But
understand
after
from a
one game,
yeah, but here's the thing. That game, they put a lot of investment in that game. Like, even Phil Spencer said that he thought Redfall was gonna be like, I think they envisioned it being a staple IP,
Yeah,
I
not
they
think
just
that game
like a
was
talk about it.
doomed
one-off.
from the start. I thought that game was doomed from the start.
And that's the thing. I think that's what their initial reaction was, and then once they started seeing it more, I think I know they realized this is not a good game. The main dude from Arcane, so he's like legendary. I'm forgetting his name right
Harvey
now.
Smith.
What's that?
Harvey Smith.
Yes. Harvey Smith, he's legendary. He's like one of my faves. And he even tried to warn Microsoft, guys, we either need to can this game or you need to give us more time. So I blame Microsoft for Redfall's failure. I'm not saying that they had complete control, because anybody who followed the news knew that Microsoft did not own Arcane Studios when Redfall was mainly being made. So this was all mainly being made under uh, ZeniMax. It was not being made under Microsoft, but Microsoft was aware before it launched they didn't have a good game, and they still launched it. So first of all, I have a problem with that, because if you've I don't know if you guys played it. It was terrible on console, but I played it on PC, which it ran a little bit smoother because you can get higher frames per second. It obviously looked better on my system. But even with all that, even with better looks, higher frames per second, and I just booted this up. So this isn't me going back a year ago. This is I just played this. This is a bad game. Like, I can't even defend it, even though if you ask me, Derek, did you like it? Yes, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I knew it was bad, but I sometimes just like bad games. I'm okay playing a bad game and still enjoying it. But objectively, it's bad. It doesn't have a good story. It doesn't have good gameplay. There's nothing unique about it. Like, one of the things Harvey Smith was trying to sell people on when they did the advertising, because I was following this game big time, was that this was essentially an open world, co-op, class-based game that's like Dishonored. So you're not going to approach every mission the same. You're going to sometimes you'll stealth, sometimes you'll use your special abilities, you want to scope out, you want to do. That is not in this game at all. It's literally just walk in, shoot things.
It was
If you're trying to stealth, you're an idiot. I mean,
it for
it's. Go ahead.
I've tried a bit. Like there were one a few times where like I used gamepad to try something, not buy the
Yeah.
game, just let me try it. and they were like a few months ago. So I did not like it,
That's not
and
good.
yeah, but it felt very Borderlands, which I love Borderlands. You know
I
that,
love Borderlands too.
but the AI was way more stupid. Like
Yes.
the guy was just looking at me like this, and
Yeah,
then
they
did nothing.
they
I'm like,
they
well,
literally will freeze.
yeah, and like dumb. And Borderlands had some dead dumb AI, but at least they shoot at you. And here, with the guy was just like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
basically
bro,
just
just shoot.
staring into nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the truth
like,
is,
oh.
it happens like not all the time. Not every AI enemy does it, but
Mhm.
if you're fighting like a group of enemies, there's at least one that's just like,
Yeah, but then I think
it's
like
like
it was
okay,
like the
are you gonna
opening the
shoot me?
opening
You gonna
yeah,
dodge?
it was like the opening mission. Like you get out of the boat, you see the cool wave
Yeah, that
stopping,
was cool.
and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you look at the next side, the guy like this. I'm like, dude, you're okay? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
it was a huge disappointment. Um, to your point, Jesse, as far as like, hey man, they had some good games before. This is one bad game. Why are we canning them? I mean, the only thing I can think of, and this is what my defense was, is you just spent I don't remember the number. It's billions of dollars on this huge publisher with a bunch of studios. Uh, I just don't
the,
think they
the,
looked at the history of this studio, and I'm gonna make the same point with Tango Works as well. They looked at the history and they go, what game did they create that was not only a successful review wise, but also made a lot of money? And the answer is, if you actually go through all their games, zero.
yes,
And
because
it's the same thing with Tango Works. If you go and look at their past games, and I'm not talking just critically. Critically, we know Tango has critical darlings. We also know that Arcane Austin also has some critical darlings. But when it comes to success financially, there's not a single game that any one of those teams has released that was a success.
was it
Now,
the
I already
Evil
know.
Within one a success, or was that the other Arcane team?
So Evil Within is actually Tango Works.
Oh,
I
that's right.
don't think it was like a financial like huge success. Now you could go, well, it they created a second one, which by the way, the second one's better than the first one.
The
But
second one I know was financially destitute, but I thought the first one was at least
I think
broke
it was
even.
semi
it,
okay. That's
the
why they made
first
the second one. Because if you've played those games, I just played the second one today. But if you play those games, dude, they are so low budget. They are advertised as AAA like horror games. They are very low budget like AA horror games. They're good, don't get me wrong. I like both, but they're not like their mechanics are terrible. Their graphics are average to bad. The dialogue and the voice acting is not very good. We're talking like this feels like original Resident Evil style games, which it's made by one of the fathers of Resident Evil. So, but my point is, I don't think they invested a lot. I guess you could say they're semi successful, but
the
I would
first
still I
the
would
first
still say
one
they were overall failures.
the first one was, from what I remember Behind said, it decent. Like it reached enough. The second Evil Within, I don't think so. And back to Arcane, like yeah, like even Dishonored 1, I remember clearly how Dishonored 1 was like a critical darling
Yeah.
for around the industry. It
Oh
was
yeah.
like the game of the year. And I just found out recently like that one flopped too. Like the
Yeah.
first Dishonored flopped. Like I knew the second one did, but I was like a little shocked that even Dishonored 1, like, oh shit.
But the two main Dishonored games are from the other Arcane studio.
Correct. They're from Lyon or whatever how you pronounce it in
And then
France.
yeah, and then their Prey, which is like
Prey
also
was
nerd.
great. As a
Yeah,
I
game,
like
it was
Prey.
great.
but no one play it. Not even me. That's the sad part. Like
Yeah.
No one
Well,
bought
and I
it.
would argue the biggest problem with their games is, and I know this is going to sound like pretentious, but they're smart games, and most people don't want to play smart games. Most people, I'm talking general gamers. I'm not talking about like, excuse me, hardcore gamers. Most people just want to pick up a gun and shoot things. They don't want to have to like stealth. They don't want to have to think things through. Those games are really thoughtful, and their design is kind of difficult to figure out. In fact, I remember when I first played Dishonored, I was like, dude, I was dying a lot. I'm like, I can't run and gun in this game. Like, if you put it on easy, you can technically run and gun. Even that can be kind of complicated, but the games punish you if you don't play smart. If you play smart, they reward you. And that was actually how they were advertised. So it's not like they weren't advertised that way. They were advertised like, hey guys, in this mission, instead of running and gunning, why don't you sneak in and poison this guy's food and then watch from the window as he dies? Like that type of stuff. Like they were like it's completely open, almost like Hitman-esque type games. I think they're better than Hitman, but that style of game, and I just don't think those type of games, even Hitman falls prey to it.
Yeah, I mean, when's the
They,
last time we saw a Splinter Cell game?
yeah,
Stealth
they're
games
just
just don't
not.
They're
sell.
making one. They're doing a remake. Hold
Sure, I'll
on.
believe it when I see it.
Like Metroid Prime 4. I believe it when I see
So
it.
I think if you look at those two studios as a whole, I think you have a lot of critical darlings. You don't have a lot of financially successful IPs.
I
I know
have a.
some people will argue that,
What about
well,
Deathloop? Did Deathloop succeed in commercially?
it actually kind of it wasn't that it didn't do that
I
well.
saw
I think
almost
it did
no
a little
chatter
bit
about
better.
Deathloop.
Yeah,
Like
I think it did a
nothing.
little bit better because it was a PS5 launch exclusive, but even for that, it didn't do very well.
Who did Ghostwire Tokyo?
That's
Tango.
Tango Games. That's
Yeah.
another failure. Um, so that's what I was saying. Like you got to look at it from. And by the way, Phil Spencer's not making all these calls. I'm not saying he doesn't play a role in this. And
Mhm.
we'll talk about it later. He absolutely does.
He
But
does
at the
own
end,
a lot of the blame, though.
oh,
Whether he's the
absolutely.
decision maker or not.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about that because, like I said, I'm not gonna move from this subject fast. I want to enjoy it because I thought it was extremely interesting topic that I actually sat there and watched a podcast. I didn't get through it all because I was like, oh my gosh, some of these points are just stupid. But for the most part, I enjoyed a lot of the conversations on this topic. Um, but what I was going to say is somebody might be listening going, Derek, that's incorrect. Xbox even said that Hi Fi Rush was a success. Go read his tweet. He does not talk about finances at all. He just says the metrics in which we measure it, it was a darling and a success. He's full of shit. They all are
Yeah.
full of shit. He knows damn well, I forgot his name, it's Greenberg or whatever. He
Oh,
knows
it's
damn
Aaron
well,
Greenberg.
yeah,
Aaron
he
Greenberg.
knows damn well that only 3 million players played that game. That means players downloaded and played it. They don't tell you how long they played it. I'm one of those
Or
players.
who actually bought it.
Yes, that's what
Hey,
I was
I
going to
bought
get
it. I
to.
bought it. I bought it.
All right. Gaston's definitely off
He's
the
the
show.
one person that bought it.
Yeah.
Probably.
But not many people bought this game. They even moved it over to PlayStation. It's already on sale on PlayStation,
That would
probably
piss.
because it didn't sell very well there either. It's a niche game. Like
There.
most people don't like rhythm-based games.
Yeah, it's definitely niche.
It's
I
niche.
want to say. I want to say that that pissed me off because the one thing I saw everywhere, like in groups and everything, people saying, "Oh, watch how Sony buy people buy Hi-Fi Rush. It could be a success now." Bro, Sea of Thieves ended up being successful. That was like the biggest whiplash I got. Like, no one bought Hi-Fi Rush, even on PS5. And like,
Too niche.
it's too niche, and then don't come crying if you didn't even buy it on PS5.
That's what I'm saying. I
I was,
see it in the
I
groups. A
was,
lot of people are just haters. They just want to bash Xbox and
I was
bash
legit excited that
the
we're going to PS5 because I thought at that moment, like, okay, we're definitely getting a sequel. I'm excited
Yeah.
for the sequel. I'm gonna get it. So I was pro like yes, put on PS5, please. But then when I found out like no, Sea of Thieves is eating all the sales, I'm like, oh fuck, it was done for.
Yeah. So it's not a success financially.
No, it's not.
And I mean, we can get I don't think we really need to have a long conversation about Game Pass in particular. I think, and if you guys want to add on to what I'm about to say, do I think the here's my issue with Game Pass. I don't have a problem that it exists because I know all three of us here use it. I don't use it as much as probably you two, because I
I
call it
use it
Poor
a lot.
Pass. I'm just not poor, guys. So I buy my games. I support the developers. I'm one of the few that has the right to bitch if something fails because I actually buy Redfall. But I don't use Poor Pass as much, but I don't think that there's not a place for it. It's just I think Xbox leaned in too much thinking this is going to be Netflix, and all their measurements is based off of growth. So even though if you look at the numbers, I think they said they have over 30 million subscribers. Let's say on average, because not everybody's paying full price,
Mhm.
that on average they're getting $10 a month per 30 million subscribers. Do the math. That's $300 million a month, right? So that's a lot of money, yet they're still not really stating that they can maintain that. So that means that to have this library of games, it is costing them a ton of money. Plus, you have to remember they're releasing all their first party games that they're paying for the development, they're paying for the advertisement, they're paying all those hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for. They're releasing them day one on Game Pass, and they're losing a lot of sales doing that. And then they're looking and going, we're no longer growing, meaning we're not making any more money, even though we're still producing more and more games or paying for more and more games to add them onto the library. So they're constantly spending, and they're not seeing an increase of more and more
the
subscribers.
the major issue with Game Pass is that there's just simply not a big enough subscriber base to grow.
Mm-hmm.
The previous system was an outright abject failure, the Xbox One. And the Xbox Series, they're what, 50% behind PlayStation?
That
And
or maybe even more. We don't know the numbers.
yeah, it's not a great, it's just not great. And
Mhm.
PC Game Pass is not a success either.
No.
So they just don't, it's they want to be able to grow, but to be able to grow, they have to get their systems out into the wild, and they're just not selling.
And
Yeah,
here's the thing, if you're going to go in all in that strategy, which they did, you can't abandon it. And here's why I'm saying this. And this does apply to people like Jesse. They have now trained not only Jesse, but almost everybody else to not buy their games. So
Yeah.
I see it over and over. I'm not going to pay $60, $70 for this game. I'll wait for it to come on Game Pass. I'm not going to
or
pay for that game. I'm going to wait for it to come on PlayStation Plus. So all these services have trained all these people that used to buy probably 5 to 10 games a year are now buying 1 to 2 max, and that's if it's an exclusive on PlayStation or maybe it's a PC game that they want. And everything else they're going Game Pass only. You get my $10 to $15 a month, whatever you guys are paying, um, and that's it. Like for me personally, and I know I'm probably more of the minority here on the topic we're talking about because I don't subscribe to Game Pass anymore, and I still buy a lot of games. But I know a lot of gamers who are not like me. They do not buy a lot of games, but they do subscribe to these services. And when I subscribe to the service, I think I even told Jesse and Rob in one of our chats, I said, I purposely let my Game Pass go like off and not subscribe to it so I can go on CD keys, which I seriously doubt Microsoft's making any money off CD keys. I go on CD keys and I pay them $7 and I get 1 month of Game Pass, and I'm going to do it with Hellblade 2 because I'm not paying $50 for trash, and I'm
I
gonna
am
pay.
actually buying that game.
Oh,
Yeah, me too. What the hell, man?
both of you blocked. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ninja Theory. I think they're definitely a topic we need to discuss. But I just pay the $7, which again I don't think Microsoft's getting money from CD Keys. I think CD Keys gets their code shady. I don't think they pay Microsoft, and so they're not making any money off me. And
I
that's
mean,
the
they're not
only
making
way
a
I'll
whole
do
lot
it.
off me either. I paid $25 for 3 months.
You do like your rewards, don't you? You
Yeah,
use the
I
reward,
do also bank rewards like crazy.
and I noticed they made adjustments to the reward system to give less, and I think it's because people were doing what you were doing.
Yeah, I was nerfing the hell out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know before even you and I talked about it, I'm talking like probably 7 years ago when I was in the unlock group, there was people making $50, $60 a month, and they were just any new game they were paying with the rewards because
Right.
they were doing what is it, Bing all day every day
Yep.
and just raking up rewards points. So anyways, I don't think Game Pass has helped them like they thought it was going to. And now they're stuck in this limbo weird spot where it's like, okay, we can't abandon Game Pass, but we also know we're not. I can't say they know, but they now probably have the perspective of, I don't think this can be the future only either. So what do we do?
I
And
do
now
wonder
they're.
if they'll back off of the day one releases.
They have to. That's the one thing.
But if you do
That's the
that,
biggest
who's
wrong.
gonna subscribe?
There's still like 100 great games in Game Pass.
They can't do
Yeah,
it with Call of
I would
Duty.
cancel my subscription if they stop the day one
That's what I'm
drop.
saying.
You
There's too
will?
many people that absolutely, and Jesse's
That's
not the only one that would do that. If you stop putting Gears of War, now Call of
the
Duty they can
biggest
get away,
draw.
but
The
if you
biggest draw.
stop putting Gears, Halo, and all those games, I'm talking day one, so we're talking about the new ones that are going to come out.
Yeah.
If you don't put them on Game Pass, and I'm talking big hitters, not the, the middle ground
Hi-Fi
game.
Rushes of the world.
Yeah, you're gonna lose even more subscribers making unless you're planning on abandoning Game Pass, which again I don't think they can do. So they're stuck in like this limbo spot where they have to start making big decisions. Now their big announcement, and this is why we're going to talk about Ninja Theory, even though they don't technically have anything to do with this. Their big announcements is they're like, hey, look, we closed these studios because we now realize we really have to focus on our big brand IPs.
Priority games is what they say.
Yes,
Priority games.
Technically you're speaking my love language there. I don't care about your Hi-Fi Rush. I don't care about your Pendaments. I care about Fallout, Elder Scrolls, uh,
Doom.
Doom, Gears, Halo. I would like better support for Halo. I've talked about it, not maybe on this podcast, but on my previous current gen podcast. I love the hell out of Halo Infinite, yet I can't still just talk nice about it because I feel like they failed
No, yeah.
that game.
I
They
Halo
could have done
Infinite.
so much more with that game. So much more.
Halo Infinite is in a good spot, but like I played yesterday. It isn't a good spot, but like if you should kept your shit all together in the development,
That's what
like
I'm
the
saying.
cutting the DLC campaign was that was my heart broke. That was like the moment I'm like you fucking idiots.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the
The-
multiplayer I like it, but I'm
Yeah, but
always
Halo
into
has
Halo
never
shit.
had DLC. They've never had story content DLC. They've
I
had
mean
spin-offs,
the
but
here, here's the thing, OD Halo 3 ODST was considered as a third DLC until Microsoft came in like, hey, cool game. Can you make that as a standalone?
yeah.
Same exact
Well,
example.
even
Miles
to Jesse's
Morales.
point, yeah, technically they've never done DLC, but maybe you'll disagree with me here, but you and I played Halo Infinite together. I don't think we beat the game together, but we played a good portion of it.
yeah.
My biggest issue with the game, I think the game's great. It's my favorite Halo. I think it has the best gameplay, and I love the open world, like how beautiful it is.
Yes.
It takes me back to the original Halo, but it's just, in my opinion, to play it, it's way better. The area that they screwed up on, that I thought they could have supported the game with, and this is where they screwed up, is they kind of released it semi bare bones and then promised that they were going to keep adding things, and then they did what they did with Redfall. They did it with this. This is Halo, by the way. Who gives a
Yeah, their
fuck what they did with
flagship
Redfall?
title.
Yeah, this is how you know their management is god awful. So if anybody was waiting for me to say it, I'm gonna say it. I don't bootlick. Their leadership is the worst. Like, the
A
fact that these
joke.
guys have jobs is a joke. That includes Phil Spencer, because Halo Infinite, that's a failure. They have failed with all their newer releases. The only thing that's been really, really good, I'm talking critically and financially, is your Forza games. That's it.
Gears 5 wasn't.
I don't think I think Gears 5 is fine, but I think it wasn't as big as what the original trilogy was. I feel like Gears 4 and Gears 5, as far as being critically, they're fine, but they're
But
not
that's the thing,
darlings
though.
anymore.
And, unless you're Nintendo, these long-running series, they usually have a tail that
I agree.
dies.
I agree. And that's why you have, like, let's look at PlayStation, right? Just for a second. So you've got Halo, Gears, all that stuff that just keep going, keep going. Now, at least they don't release them every year or two, but they keep going, they keep going, they keep going. What does Sony do? Do they release sequels? Absolutely. But they normally do like trilogies, and then they go make something new.
Yep.
Xbox doesn't do that. They're like, "Oh, you guys like Fable? Kill it.
I think God of War would be
Just play Gears,
the
Gears and Halo. That's it."
I think
Yeah,
God of
God of
War would
War.
be the exception.
Well, in a way, they killed it. So the original trilogy came out. The third one wasn't as successful as the first two, and they
And then there
kind of
was like
killed it.
Ascension or something, right? Some
Yeah,
sort of
Yeah.
they like
spin-off
released like
thing.
smaller, like handheld versions, and then they kind of killed it. It was gone. Dave Jaffe was gone. God of War was dead and gone. And then they went, let's bring it back. But this is what's great about them. Bring it back, make it relevant, make it different. If you go play the old God of War games and then play the new ones, yes, it's God of War, but it's totally different.
Yeah, it's
It's
totally
more
different.
modern. It's more modern. So that's my issue with Xbox is it's poor management. You lean on three IPs and you put all the pressure on those three IPs to carry you. And like to Jesse's point, they do to a certain extent carry you because there's still a lot of loyal fans. I'm one of them. I love Halo, love Gears, and I love Forza. I love them to death. And I will always buy them until they absolutely suck, which I hope they never do. But they can't carry you anymore. You have to have a full-fledged diverse lineup, which is one of the things they talk about. We want to be more diverse. We want small titles. We want middle ground titles. We want indie. We want AAA. We want all these experiences. And then what do you
It's
do?
not what they want.
No,
No,
they
you
botched it.
then you close down Tango Gameworks, which again we've already talked about. I
Made a
understand
critical hit. Maybe not a financial hit, but a
yeah,
critical hit.
and that's what I'm going to get to. So I always talk out of two sides of my mouth. I've already talked out of the business side. I understand why they did what they did. I am not angry financially why they did it. I can make sense of it. I think it's logical. Here's where I disagree with what they did. I have a problem with you closing down the one Japanese studio that you
There
have.
we go.
After talking for decades about how
There
you
we
want
go.
to
There we
hit
go.
the Japanese market.
And then you also close that Japanese studio that actually brings you the diversity you wanted. They release small games. They release unique games. You may not like them. I'm one of them. I don't care about Hi-Fi Rush. I do like the Evil Within games, but I'm not going to act like I'm a fanboy for them. I don't. I didn't finish either one of them. And what was the other one? Oh, Ghostwire Tokyo,
Ghostwire
which
Tokyo, yeah.
was a failure, but it was unique, right? So why not? Here's my thinking, and again, I don't know their numbers. Why not keep that studio open and say maybe have a tighter leash? I know they don't like that, but by the way, the guy who made uh the Evil Within game, the Resident Evil guy. I don't know his name right now,
Shinji
Shinji or whatever.
Mikami.
Shinji Mikami. He jetted. He jetted like 5-6 months ago, or maybe a little bit longer.
Wait, dude
So it
left
was
to say,
foreshadowing. He knew.
yeah, I love how he said dude left when he was retiring, like he was done making games, and
Yeah.
then out of nowhere he's like, oh yeah, I'm making another game. I'm like, the fuck?
No, he just wanted. He wanted out. He knew. He knew that under Xbox's control, he wasn't going to get the freedom, and I bet you he knew they were going under.
What blows me away about closing Tango Gameworks is that that's a studio that is just primed to make a exclusive new
Yes.
IP horror game. Just
Yes.
primed to do that. And that style of game has an audience.
Also, if you give them the budget, so let's not act like Microsoft doesn't have the money that you could pitch to them and say, look, I know Xbox isn't a big money maker for you guys. Give us a little bit of extra money for these studios. We just bought this big amount of publishers and or we bought this big publisher with all these developers. We're gonna need some time. We can make all this money back. You just got to give us a little bit of time, and give Tango a shot and say, look, we want you to make your little niche games. We also want you to make a horror game, but we need it to feel AAA. We need it Resident Evil level of, uh, what am I trying to think of?
Like Resident Evil 4?
Like Resident Evil level of quality is what I'm trying to say. Because, like I said, I don't know if you guys played The Evil Within. They're good games. They are. But I'm talking quality level. They are not Resident Evil. They're not Resident Evil. They're like Resident Evil old school. They're not modern Resident Evil as far as how the games feel, how they look, all that stuff. But if you you don't have to call it The Evil Within 3 because technically The Evil Within wasn't like the super hit. So I think making The Evil Within 3 would have been a mistake. But come out with something completely different that is a horror game or something that maybe mixes Ghostwire with more horror because Ghostwire was supposed to be horror-ish. It really isn't. If you play the game, it's not that creepy and it's not very horror. And the gameplay was actually very boring. It's supposed to be unique, but it's actually boring. So they have the talent, but I think they needed more time and I think they needed a bigger budget, and I think that's why you get the result you got. It's like, you need more money? No. We've got a gazillion other developers. Let's just get rid of you. Let's move on. But like I said, I think the mistake they're making there is you're completely giving up on Japan. You're saying we no longer care about your money. Which, to be fair, they weren't buying their games still.
They're an abject failure in Japan.
Yeah. So I get that, but like I said, that's
It's like
just I'm just looking at it from a diversity point of view and a gamer point of view. I think it's a bad look and a bad decision. Financially, I get it, but I think you could have made it work if you gave it time, is what I would say.
that's the thing because you mentioned before like the Sony exclusive games. I'm not a fan of the lineup we got right now. I'm not a fan.
It's
You
not
could
that much right now.
yeah, but yeah,
Are
I
you
love
saying for the
Spider.
PS5 as a whole?
I would say PS4 and PS5 together. But you feel
I
like
like the PS4. I would agree
there
with
was
you on the PS5. It's a lot of remakes and they're just not
yeah, but like
it's not much
their
there.
own. I one time said it to my brother. The Last of Us was a curse and a blessing because all I see now from Sony lineup is
Copy
hyper
and paste.
realistic, hyper realistic, over the shoulder, a light RPG mechanic, crafting, stealth, optional. And yes, I love Spider-Man, but I love Spider-Man because it's Spider-Man, not because Insomniac made them. Like he already is addictive to me. Ratchet and Clank is the only platformer they do. It's kind of depressing that the only one they do.
And
And
didn't the last one kind of fail, so we don't even know if we're gonna get one anytime soon?
oh no, I saw the leak. We are getting one.
Okay.
I saw the leak document. We are.
Oh,
I need.
that's what it was. That's what it
Yeah.
was. There was a document, but Insomniac's plans are like they're doing all this Marvel stuff, and you're not getting a
I was
Ratchet
gonna
and
get,
Clank
I was gonna
anytime
get
soon.
there. I was gonna get there.
All
When
right,
they
go ahead.
announced, when they started doing Spider-Man, I thought they were gonna do Spider-Man, and I was happy. Like, you know what? Go for it. But I said to myself, I hope they don't become the Marvel studio.
They are the
And what should
Marvels.
happen? There you go. And I'm not gonna buy Wolverine because of that reason. Like, I, I'm not into Wolverine. I don't. I'm
You'll
not.
buy Wolverine.
No,
You'll buy.
trust me, I won't. And then came Helldiver, which is the reason I praise Helldiver so much is because, like, holy shit, a co-optic, arcadey, funny, goofy shooting game that doesn't go to the
But that's
hyper, like,
not a first party game.
no, it's a second party, but like, I'm right here pointing, like, I want more of this, Sony, the small, more fun quirkiness. I miss that side. So when I look on Xbox, I'm like, you got Killer Instinct, 2D fighting game. Like, you got 2D fighting game.
Yeah, but
You got,
when's the last time they made a Killer Instinct game?
It
look,
came out first day of Xbox One.
yeah, but it did update, so they brought back the team that was working on the game. So, like,
I'm
maybe,
hoping I'm with you on that, Gaston, because I
so
actually
maybe
think Killer Instinct might
there's
be
no
one of the
way,
best fighting games ever.
there's no way you should update the game and say goodbye again.
Yeah, didn't make sense because you weren't getting anything financially from just
Yeah,
updating it.
there was no
I
reason to
guess,
do it.
yeah. So I do think they will do
So, like,
something. I don't think they'll spend a lot of money on it, but I think they
oh
will do.
no. But like, you got Killer Instinct, you got Halo as your shooter, you got Starfield or Fallout or Elder Scrolls as your RPG. You could have kept Tango for your horror and rhythm. Age of Empire now going to console, so you got a strategy game. You see where I'm going? Like, there's a
More diverse,
diversity. Yes, and I'm like, I want that.
a
I
lot more
want
uglier
Yeah,
women
but
in
you could
Xbox
also
games
make
as
the
well.
argument that Microsoft has the studios to make that diversity, but they haven't done it.
that. The
Agreed.
problem, they haven't done it, and
So that
it all
brings me to
smoke and
my
mirror.
next point. I have two more points, and then we will move on to what our show is supposed to be. And obviously, I want y'all's thoughts on it. First one being there is that conversation of, well, these studios close, they're focusing more now on their flagship titles. Is this move what they're trying to do is get away from smaller non-successful titles and trying to pump out Fallouts faster, Elder Scrolls faster? Would you be for this type of move, this type of closure, this type of sacrifice if you knew for sure that it was going to get you Gears, Halo, Fallout, all these games a little bit quicker? I'm not saying yearly, I hope not, but like a
No,
little bit
no.
quicker. Would you be like, yeah, that's what I want. It's
If
worth
that
making that sacrifice.
if they legit pull it off, then yes, because I do love Fallout. I do love Doom. I do love Halo. I'm gonna shove in Killer Instinct, hopefully, and hopefully with Activision and they could do well. Toys for Bob left, so they probably saw that ship sailing so badly. So I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with Spyro. I hope there's a new Spyro, but I I'm gonna go like, yes, go for it, but I'm watching you because you've been making me take non-stop.
Jesse, would you support moves like this if it got you those big flagship titles faster?
So many variables to that question. Um, I think to the essence of your question, I guess I would say yes.
Okay.
If it means that they will actually start producing games, then yes. But the other flip side to that is whether or not these games are even going to be good.
Mhm.
I mean,
Which we
if I'm
can't
being
guarantee.
completely frank, uh, I would have saved Tango GameWorks and Arcane Austin and just shuttered 343 Industries and just gave Halo to somebody else.
So you really hate 343.
I just do not think they do a very good job with Halo.
I will
I think
with
they do a really good job with gameplay. I think they
three
fail at
four
everything else.
Yeah.
343. I would say the team
Or mismanagement.
that were doing the Master Chief Collection, let them do Halo. Like, let them
Who?
lead the people who were in charge of the Master Chief Collection.
Isn't that the team that just makes everything prettier that Sony now owns?
Yeah, is that Blue Point?
Yeah, Blue
No, no,
Point.
no,
Yeah.
no. Like when they were bringing Halo to the Xbox One X, they had a team that was dedicated for that game to
That
like
wasn't
fix it.
343i?
I don't know much. I should
I
know
thought it
that.
was part of it. I think it was like split. I think
No,
I'm
like
not. You would
all
have
I
to
know,
Google it.
yeah, all I know that the one in charge of 343, like the head, not Bonnie, Bonnie gone, the new one, he was from Master Chief Collection Resurgent team.
But the thing
So
Oh,
like
is
okay.
that even that
I want
Master Chief collection was a disaster at launch.
yes, I launched, but then the guy say no, let give the fan the proper way, and he went in, and now he's in charge of 343. So I'm gonna let him like, all right, let's see you
So what
handle
you're
Halo.
saying is because you trust him and he's now in charge of 343, you say, let's give 343 a shot.
The last one.
Okay. I would agree with you. I know how Jesse feels about 343. I can't say he's wrong, but
No,
I
understand.
personally am fine as long as they make moves, and they have. Because if they just went, well, we'll do better next time, and everything stays the same, I would have a problem with that because you're
Just
not
out
going to
of
do better next time.
just
The first warning will be the engine. If it's some new bullshit engine, I'm like, all right, we're fucked.
just out
Because
of curiosity, since I've already kind of said who I would shutter if I was forced to shutter a studio. Do
Hmm.
you guys agree with the studios that were closed, or do you think there are other studios that, if you were the boss, you would have closed
if I had to
to
close
achieve what
one,
Derek is talking about?
Like trade.
Keep
I
Tango and close something else. In other
oh,
words,
I get what you're
oh
saying. I can't even think of anybody else I'd want
I
to
got
close.
one. I got one. Fuck it. I'm gonna close one of the Call of Duty studios. Like, all right, you got so
yeah, but
many
you
devs.
can't. That's their biggest moneymaker. Call of Duty is going to be
You
their
got
biggest.
three. You got three people, three studios. Taking one out and spread that development team
They
to
can't do
everyone.
it. They can't do
th-
it.
No, because
that
Especially
then those two
now.
studios would have to produce a game every 2 years instead of every
Yeah,
3 years.
well,
they
I
can't
don't
do
want.
it.
I think they should. Uh, that's the moment
Bro,
where I
the
say
last
if
Call of
I
Duty
were,
had 3 years, and it came out as basically DLC.
yeah. But what I
So
say is that way saying they shouldn't do annual call anymore.
they I get what
Oh,
you're saying, but you're speaking in Gaston's desires, not reality.
yes,
Yeah.
I
I
live.
would say I'm going to answer it in more reality terms, meaning I would actually agree with Gaston. I like Call of Duty, but like you could
Who really
kill
cares?
two of the studios and give me two different ones. I honestly think that I can't think of a studio that I would rather be closed than the ones that got closed. I
Maybe
mean, I can sit
Propulsion,
here
who
and
did Psychonauts.
oh,
No,
kill that,
no, no, that's
kill it
Oh,
Double
no,
Fine.
that's
dead.
Double Fine. Actually, that's Double Fine,
Yeah,
isn't
Oh,
it?
you
kill
want
Double
to close?
Fine. Kill Double Fine.
No,
I hate them.
no. No, you want to close this? You want to close it?
Hell yeah, kill it.
You want to
All
close
right,
it? Oh,
one
sorry.
last topic or point, and then let's talk video games. Um, so here's my thing. My bigger concern here, I do think we are going to get the big hitters. I know they've been talking about it forever. I do think eventually Xbox will rebound. I do have some concerns for the future of certain studios. And one of them's about ready to release a game in 8 days from the day we're recording it.
Oh
It
boy.
is a smaller studio that has been given a bigger budget.
That just lost their head leader.
Yes. And they also are not getting a lot of advertisement for this game. I think it's going to be a failure. So what do you do
A
with a
financial failure.
yeah, financially failure? What do you do if you're Xbox after what you've just done with a team that is clearly talented? Nobody can deny that. Even if I objectively did not love Hellblade, I have always loved Ninja's games. Like I've always loved their backlog of games. They're one of my favorite studios, like back from the PS3, Xbox 360 days. I love them to death. So I made jokes with Jesse, would be very mad if they got touched, especially since I would still blame Microsoft and their leadership for this failure because I was told, first of all, the first Hellblade was a smaller game. This was supposed to be like a big AAA game. You can tell by the pricing, and now they're coming out saying it's about a 7 or 8 hour campaign. They've kind of reverted back to this isn't as big as we first sold you on it when we were making it four
But
or five.
how long you want it to be? Because I think 8 hours is good enough for me.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
think that's perfect,
Depends
to be
on what
honest.
they're making. If they're making literally a mirror of what Hellblade the original was, no, I wouldn't want a 16 to 20 hour campaign of like torture and annoyances. No.
Yeah, but like yeah,
But if they
yeah,
were trying to, and I think their original vision, I could be wrong, but I think their original vision was let's take what we made in Hellblade and let's make it like God of War esque. Let's make it this epic campaign with triple A out the works quality. And then I think it got, as it took forever for them to make it, because we're talking, what has it been in development for? Like 6, 7
It was
years now?
seven.
announced at 2019, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Game
That's
Awards.
when it was announced. I think it was already in development
Yeah.
since like 2018, 2017, whenever. I think Hellblade came out in 2017. So I think they started developing in 2018 or whatever. So you're talking 6 years of development. So my point is they've put a lot of money into this. I don't think you're going to see growth on Game Pass subscriptions. You're definitely not going to see a big sales or a lot of sales from it because the only people that are truly going to buy this game are, well, you two weirdos, but also the only people that are going to play it are Game Pass people. But my point is I don't think you're going to see a rise in Game Pass subscriptions from this one game. So even though I think it's going to actually review quite well and it might get some growth, I'm talking like minor growth, I can almost guarantee they're going to look at it and be like, we invested this much and we get nothing in return.
I
So
think it would
my
be. I think that would be truly unfortunate because not even just because of Hellblade, but I don't know if you guys remember, but Ninja Theory actually has another game that's been announced that's just called Project Mara at this point,
Yes,
which is
I was bring it up. I was waiting.
and yeah, which is dubbed an experimental horror experience.
Mhm.
That could
Is that
also be another one of these niche titles that
maybe that's why they got rid of Tango though? Maybe they went Tango's not making us any money. Let's get rid of them. Ninja Theory's the better studio. They're already working on another game. It's horror-esque. Maybe. I don't know. So maybe my fears of losing Ninja are stupid, but I do it at
I
least
would be angry if we lost.
yeah, but I think you guys would agree. It at least puts the question mark in there. Is anybody who doesn't make an
Well,
immediately successful IP, are they in danger of in a year or two being
I put like
cut?
this. I put like this, Derek. So for me, will be Obsidian.
That's where I
Oh,
was going next.
I am see, I am so hyped for about like that. Like
yes.
that my like that the one I'm looking forward.
Don't touch Obsidian. You touch
And
Obsidian, I will never buy an
Yeah,
Xbox
I
again.
seriously, I
yeah,
will disown them if they close
yeah,
Obsidian.
that that's how I feel too. Like, and I will all over look people looking about like doesn't look that good. Look kind of
No, it's gonna be
boring.
good. It's gonna
No,
be good.
I hope it. I'm
It'll be
already
good.
pre-ordering that shit. But I'm worried of them. That's the one I'm worried.
Well, that was where I was gonna go, and so I'm glad you jumped there. If I'm talking about Ninja Theory, I have some concerns about Obsidian. I do
I,
think Obsidian not only has a track record of critical darlings, I think they do a little bit better financially. So I
Yes.
think they have a chance of being safe. I also think the leadership can also sell the suits and say, guys, look at what these guys have done. They have a longer list of success.
Also,
That's like
I'm not.
cutting like a
here's
huge
a here's a
studio that
lightsaber.
has one mess up.
Here how you could save Obsidian because they say, oh, we're gonna try and make more Fallout. Hey, they made New Vegas,
Yeah, but Todd
which is
Howard has
one of my
already said he does not want that to happen.
He
Not
doesn't
that he
want what?
necessarily makes the decisions, but he said he wants to keep Fallout in house under
All right, but
him.
he doesn't. Microsoft own the ass, so they're gonna tell him like, all right.
Yeah, but
dude,
if they
quit
lost
it.
a talent like Todd Howard, like if he was just like, all right, I'm done.
I think it would be smart to stick with in-house, and here's why I don't think you even fuck with Obsidian doing Fallout ever again. They already have their own IP that's just like Fallout.
In
Let
the Outer
them do
Worlds,
their thing. Yes. And they did an
which
amazing job with
which
it.
another one I'm excited for. I'm excited for a sequel.
The one I'm actually worried about, because I'm not worried about Obsidian. Obsidian's too big of a name. Microsoft would be really foolish to close that studio. The one
We are
I'm
talking
worried
about
about is In Exile, the one that makes Wasteland, the Wasteland games. That's the studio that I think if they're going to shutter a RPG studio, that's the one that's going to go.
That's true. And they do make good games. They just
Yep.
aren't, I wouldn't say they're
They're niche.
successful.
They're those
Yeah.
CRPG type games that are just niche,
Yeah.
unless you're Baldur's Gate.
So overall, I would say this was a really, really bad week for Microsoft. And to be honest, as somebody who has supported them for a long time and kind of always been like, hey, you guys, because I still do think there's a bias out there. I'm not even just talking about our current gen group. I'm in other groups.
Really, not in our
There is a
group. Not in our
there's a
group.
built-in hatred towards Xbox and a built-in love for Sony. And I love PlayStation, I really do. But I do think there is a bias.
There is.
But
Yeah,
I
there
also
clearly
think,
is.
but I also
Because
think Microsoft is getting to the point, at least for me and my perspective, where it's like you kind of deserve some of the shitting on that you get because you guys, for I want to say at least for the last 5 years, you have sold me nothing but hype, and I can't even think of a game outside of Forza, Halo, and Gears 5 wasn't that recent, but those two
Starfield,
franchises. I like Starfield, but man, I would rather play Fallout. I didn't think Starfield was that great. I thought it
Starfield is
was
not good. That's
it's
not a good game.
okay. And
okay,
that's
Gen 8.
another
All right,
reason
cool.
we didn't talk about it here and we're not going to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you I think Starfield's another reason why we had these cuts. Like nobody's talking about that, but Starfield did not push Game Pass like they wanted. They wanted Starfield to be a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. You must have an Xbox. You must play this game. You must subscribe to Game Pass. Make people who are only in the PlayStation um,
Feel
ecosystem,
jealous.
yes, feel jealous where they're like, maybe I'll invest in a Series S. They didn't get that. They didn't get that push that they wanted from Starfield. And I think this is the ramifications. I really do. I think they started looking and they go, we didn't get that growth. And we invested a lot in Starfield. We invested a lot in some of these games and we're not getting that growth. We got to cut these studios. So I
I
don't
don't.
think
I don't think Bethesda is going to make a 9 or 10 out of 10 game ever again.
I would agree with you. They're too archaic until they
Yeah.
let somebody come in that's not Todd Howard and say, "We got to change things, guys. You are really old school. You're archaic." Because
Yeah.
if you play Starfield, it's an average Fallout game. That's it. It's not. They don't even do anything better than Fallout. That's kind of pathetic, if
I
you
feel like they
ask
do
me.
everything worse.
Yeah, you don't have a VAT system. You're automatically worse. I love VATs. I think VATs is the best thing in any of Bethesda's games. So you don't have that, so you're already losing. But I would even say I don't go to a planet and go, what's gonna happen? What am I gonna run into? It's uninteresting.
It's
It,
because there's nothing's going to happen.
yeah, and then even like the main plot missions where I'm
I act,
going to like those temples were so stupid. It was all of it was just dumb. It was dumb.
look, look, I'll put it. For me, like I still prefer Fallout more over Starfield. I do like my appearance with Starfield. I think I probably enjoy it more than you two from here.
I would give it an 8. So I don't hate it, but
I'd
it's
give it
not.
like a 6.5 or 7.
Okay,
He's
so
a hater.
yeah, he's a hater.
He's a
I
hater.
think it was
Give
great.
him
I'm
more
the
I
Xbox
alcohol. He
guy.
might. I
I
know.
did like
Give him more
I did like
alcohol. He might like it more.
I did like the main story. I do agree it was a contents temple run which got a
Yeah.
little annoying by
It was
the end.
it was uninteresting.
But
Now,
the main
some of the
story was
side
interesting.
stuff was cool. The
Yeah,
side stuff, which is what I
the
focused on.
factions,
Yeah, and
stories.
I'm cool with that. I think you should try to build out your games that way, but still it felt like the main conquest was just extremely boring. It felt like, hey, let's create a gazillion planets, but let's not really do anything
Yeah,
interesting on any of the
I didn't
planets.
even. I think I just did the main planet system, so I didn't even go that far. Like I didn't care. Like nope.
All right, so let's move on. We're gonna do this a little bit quicker because we talked to Xbox way more, and I don't want like a 9-hour show. But let's just do a quick talk about Fallout. Again, I'm breaking my own rules again because I want to talk about. We could talk a little bit about the games, like how you feel about them and stuff. But we kind of touched on that. I wanted to talk about the Fallout show since I think all three of us here, I would say we're big Fallout fans. So, what was your thoughts on the show? And let me start here. What was your expectations when you saw that the show was being worked on and announced?
Low.
Low
Yeah,
for me too.
low.
Okay. So, that being said, what were your initial thoughts when you watched the entire show?
It was for me the best video game adaptation. I was
Show or
surprised
movie or both?
for both. But like for me, like you could say The Last of Us HBO was the best, but it
No.
kind of easy for you're copying the game story.
No,
Well,
they still changed a lot of
no,
significant stuff
they
that
still
they
changed.
didn't
Like
need
the
to change.
bill, the bill episode was one of my favorite, but still that
It's
they
no,
changed a
the
lot.
Bill episode was literally gay. It was
Well, okay,
literally gay.
I enjoy gay love a little bit,
Yes, but
but
they changed like one of the. I know I'm probably the minority here, but they changed like I thought it was cool when you pick up the note and you read it and the dude freaking hated Bill. That was awesome.
yeah,
And then I'm an
I
asshole, so I'm
agree.
like, here, Bill, I hate you. Read this letter about how you're a loser and he hates you. And then the
Yeah, but
show's like, no, they were happily in love and, they had this great
but
lifestyle because they're
but
gay. It's like, this is stupid and
it
gay.
was something different. Because the one thing in the show it still followed the game plot.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was
They
so it
made
kind so I
significant
kind of
changes, but it's not a brand
yeah.
new story.
So it like yeah, I'm like I know what's gonna happen. I know how the story gonna end. I know who will die, who will live. So when I saw the build up, so I'm like, did different, but still feel Last of Us, and that was great. So Fallout goes, here's an entire season with a new story, new characters, new lore into the game, and I'm
Hmm.
like, that's what I want to see. I want to see something new while still feeling like I'm in
It's
Fallout.
Fallout.
This
Yes.
Fallout,
I
and I
was
giggle.
impressed. I was
Hmm.
impressed with how that show captured the essence of
Exactly.
Fallout. It felt like
That's what
Fallout.
I was
It
gonna
felt
say.
like the universe of Fallout, which I
If you
thought
would
was
have
going to be the hardest thing for them to do, to be honest.
Hmm.
agreed, and if you would have told me that this was not a story from a Fallout game, that's how good of they did with the story. That's how good they did with the characters. That's how good they did, like you said, the essence of it. Like it felt like this feels like Fallout to the point
Yeah.
where, and I'm sure you two did the same thing I did. I was like, I must immediately download a Fallout game and start playing.
Yes. Yes. For me, like I want to play Fallout 4, but I will wait for the next gen update. So I will play Fallout New Vegas, and also I will play a little bit of Fallout 3, but I will mostly play New Vegas because it's my favorite one, the one I love the most.
Yeah.
And then when the next gen came out, I played that one. But for me, they're all great. That was one thing. I never played one or two. For me not that I can't do the
No.
isometrical thing, but I do love
I mean,
because in
I
the show,
probably could now, but because of like Boulder's Gate and all that
yeah.
stuff, but it's too far gone. I don't care that much.
So like the show, like one thing that I can say, the show doesn't go straight for oh, it Bethesda Fallout. No, it goes for one, two, three, New Vegas, four, even 76 vibes. They're like it all mixed into one. for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. There's a Fallout for everyone, that show. Like one of my favorite Easter egg is if you look in the background, one is in the like the first town they go into.
Yeah.
Like there's one that people walk just like the Fallout 1 animation walking. And like I knew that reference. That kind of funny that they actually brought it.
Yeah.
And with the games like New Vegas, I love New Vegas because it's the writing, it's really comical. You get shot in the head and then you go out after a guy. And as you go through New Vegas, it's just a comical roller coaster of weird people you meet nonstop.
New Vegas is the best Fallout game.
It is, but I still love the others ones.
See, and that was going to be my question. So we know what you two like. You like New Vegas the most. I
Mhm.
mean, now if you ask me to go play a Fallout game, I'm going to play Fallout 4 just because I
Yes.
enjoy the
I
gameplay
think
and the
that's the
graphics
worst
more.
Fallout game.
I think it's one of the worst too. I did enjoy the story, but my favorite actually is Fallout 3. Um, I liked it more than New Vegas. I like the story. I love the setting. I don't know. Maybe it's just nostalgia. It was my first
For
Fallout game,
the way
and I failed at it so many times. Like I gave up on it. I remember I didn't buy it. I rented it from what's that rent? GameFly. And I kept dying and I just sucked at the game and I was like, I don't understand why people like this game. This is so bad. And I sent it back and then eventually it was on sale and I bought it and then I kept dying. I was like, this game sucks. I uninstalled it. Then for some reason, I don't remember the reason, but I came back to it and it finally clicked. I think I got better at games. I maybe played other games that were RPGs and I started getting better at it. And that's when I was like, now I see why people like this game. The freedom of it, the VAT system, the exploration, the story and how it ended up playing out. Like that was to me the magic of Fallout. So 3 is still a special place in my heart. But if you ask me to go play one now, I'm gonna play Fallout 4. The
yes,
other
for
two
me,
are
like,
too archaic.
well, how I see it, like Fallout 3 for me had the best exploration due to
Hmm.
the setting and you legit have to explore the world to get to the quests and all that. New Vegas had the best writing because, like I say, I love the humor that in that game.
Hmm.
It's just non-stop weirdness of crazy characters. And then 4 had the best combat gameplay. Like it's an improvement from 3 in New
Of
Vegas.
course, yeah.
And it does have the bass system included too. So gain the best of both worlds when it comes to gameplay.
I just think they failed in a lot of other stuff, but
Yes, 4 fails a lot. Like it doesn't for me, 4 doesn't feel like an RPG. It feel
mhm,
Four
like a
was
more
just
of a shooter.
boring. It was just a
yeah.
boring game.
There is
They tacked on too many like, hey, we want you to build shelters and I don't
that
care about all
that
that
was the
stuff. I don't want
problem
to
This
learn
too.
all
is
that
what
So
crap.
makes me worried about the next Elder Scrolls game because I'm actually an Elder Scrolls person. That's my favorite Bethesda series.
Yeah.
And given that Fallout 4 is just not great and Starfield is a train wreck, it makes me wonder what the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be like.
I mean, it's gonna be Baldur's Gate 4. They're gonna make it just as good. Because we all know they're great at writers and characters. That's the other thing you mentioned, and then we'll move on from Fallout. Because, like I said, I want us to get through the show. Um, you mentioned New Vegas has the best writing, and I'm like, yeah, it's Obsidian. That's what they
hmm
do.
Right,
That's the
exactly.
thing that
exactly.
Bethesda really can't do. Bethesda can't create great characters. They don't have great writers. They generally don't do great gameplay, to be honest with you. And they don't. In my opinion, maybe I sound like a hater. I don't think Bethesda does anything really that great, except
Yeah, that sounds like a hater.
yeah,
I do
except
think
maybe giving
they,
you freedom. That's it.
yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say is that there is no other style of game that gives you as much freedom to do basically whatever you want and go wherever you want as a Bethesda game does.
Yes,
No,
it's just
like
No,
they
Zelda
don't
does
do
not
everything
do it
else.
the way that Bethesda
No.
does.
I wasn't even gonna bring up Zelda. I was like, fuck that thing.
Well,
No,
he's
I was
he's
gonna
yelling.
say
He's yelling at me. He thinks I'm gonna tear into him.
No, I would say
I'm gonna
there are,
trap Jesse one of these times. I'm gonna have Jesse and Rob on the show. I'm gonna be like, hey, we're gonna talk about all these games, and all we're gonna talk about is Zelda. It's gonna be a special Zelda episode,
I'll,
Nintendo
I
episode.
can talk about the old Zeldas. Those were good.
so I would, in my follow-up moment, I would say that there are some quests that Bethesda do, like the writing, which are really good. Like I remember the quest in 3 where involve you go to one of the ball and you meet a guy named Gary, and turn out there like another guy named Gary that looks similar, and there's another guy named Gary, and you realize is a bot that cloned the person, and the whole quest in that one is funny. So like they do have their moment where like
Yeah, they have
it
moments.
is a good writing moment.
Well,
It's
like
just
for
sadly,
instance, I'm gonna
and I,
forget.
and I
Go ahead.
I like Darfield. Like I say, I like the main story of Darfield writing. Like I'm all in for the autonomy. Like fuck, go off, King.
Well, like Starfield, I was gonna bring that up. Like, I'm forgetting the side missions where you're you're infiltrating a crew. What's it called again? I forgot.
You mean the
The
bandits?
Yeah, you're
Ye
infiltrating them.
yeah, yeah. Looking for the
So
lost
that
treasure. Yeah.
entire like story or plot you're doing is better than the main plot, but even still, keep in mind, guys, for anybody that wants to scream at me, I had just finished playing Baldur's Gate 3. The writing in Starfield is so bad. The characters are bad. They're not even like the decision makings, like the big decisions that are supposed to go, holy crap, what do I do? They're laughable compared to what Baldur's Gate 3 did. Like it's really bad. I'm like, dude, this is not like these decisions are not even that hard to make. Like there was no point where I'm like, "Oh, what do I do? There's so much weight and pressure on me." I'm like, "I'm just going to shoot this guy in the head because I don't care about you because you guys aren't convincing. You're not written very well." Baldur's Gate, I don't know if you've played it, Gaston. I know Jesse has. There are so many times where you're put in situations where you have to make decisions that could cost people you genuinely care about. That's how good they write these guys. And that to me is what Obsidian can do. Obsidian can do maybe not at the exact level, but they can do that with like Baldur's Gate 3 does, where they can take a story, take characters, take making times in a game, and put all this weight on you to go, fuck, dude, I don't want you to die, or I don't want to go against this clan, or I don't want to steal from these people. I don't know what to do. And I just don't feel like Bethesda in general does that well. It doesn't mean they haven't had successful times. I'm saying overall, I don't think they do that very well.
No, it's understandable. I didn't play Baldur, but I seen some of the like moments of the game, like clips and all that. And I agree. Like there's a reason that everyone loved them with
Oh,
Baldur Gate 3.
it's my favorite game. It's my favorite game. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about the main game this week. I believe all three of us played it, and I'm gonna guess we played a good chunk of it, and that's, I might say it wrong, but it's Eiyuden Chronicle, or Eiyuden Chronicle. I personally was not that hyped, even though I know that the team that made this game made the Suikoden series, which I always had an interest in because I thought the cover art was super cool. But I wasn't a big JRPG person back then, meaning I thought I was always intrigued by him, but I sucked at him. So I never gave Suikoden a chance because I was too afraid of it. But now I like JRPGs way more. So this was a no-brainer. This is, even though this game's on Game Pass, I did buy it. I bought it on Steam because I wanted to be able to play it on my Legion Go, which it runs amazing on there. Don't you laugh at me, bro.
No, I would
I
like to
would
think I
not
thought
have bought this game if
Jesse
it wasn't
Jesse
on
was
Game
like
Pass.
this. He was like this. As you
Yeah.
say, I
If
bought
this
it.
wasn't on Game Pass, I would not have played it.
Okay, so that's what I'm gonna ask. What are your thoughts, Jesse, on this game?
Honestly, I think it's pretty good. Uh, I
I thought you were gonna hate on
enjoy.
it.
No, I enjoy most of the characters except for the bulk of the female characters, who are all completely obnoxious.
Whoa! That little
Misogynist.
sexist. That little
Yeah,
sexist, man. What the
misogynist.
hell?
The only good female characters are Mio and
You better say Francesca.
she's so weird, dude.
Bro, she's awesome. She's
I had to
freaking
agree-
awesome.
I had to agree with Derek.
I
She's
love
so
her.
weird.
But that's because I think I said it on Current Gen. You guys probably didn't listen to the show. Or well, Gaston, you usually listen. But I said it on Current Gen when I was on there a couple weeks ago. I had just gotten her, and it was like getting, I think it's her name Zero from Dragon Guard 3. And if you've ever played that game, you'll see what I mean. It's just this female chick who has temper issues, and she
Yeah.
likes to yell at everybody, especially her little playful dragon. Gaston would actually probably find these clips to be hilarious. You should look them up, like Dragon Guard 3 funny clips.
Oh,
It's this cute dragon who's so innocent. He's like a little child. He's so sweet. He playing in the mud. He's having fun, and she just calls him an idiot. You fucking idiot! Shut up! And just yells at him like abusively. And it's quite hilarious. So when she's introduced in the game and she starts yelling at these people after being real sweet, she's like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Francesca." And then she's like, "I hate you. Get out of here." And I was like, "Oh my god, they wrote this character perfect." And every time she speaks in combat, she's like just yelling at the enemies and talking about how she killed them and she doesn't give a crap about them. I find her humorous. So
Yeah.
I haven't met. I there's one other female character I have. It's the first one, Leon.
Please, no.
Yeah,
that
she's
her?
obnoxious.
She needs
She's
to shut up.
Yeah.
Like as
Wait.
soon as I can kill her, I'm killing her.
Wait, can we
Getting
kill Hero? Because that's the one thing
I
I
wish
don't
I
know.
could kill her.
The other
Kill
the
her.
other female one that I liked was Sabine, who's like a mercenary guard who hangs out with the princess girl there.
How
I
far are you guys in to this game?
Okay, I'm like, it might say 3 hours, but the quest I'm in, they're like, oh, you have to recruit people. So I'm too
I'm
early.
way further in than
I know you are. Where are you at, Jesse? Roundabout, if you don't know the exact time.
probably about 22 hours.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I'm only like 5 hours in. Now, I've already recruited. I have a team of 6. I'm on the main mission. I already got like one of the main things in the game.
Have you guys met Malore yet? The female character Malore?
No.
Oh, God, she's the worst. Just the worst.
Looking forward to that. Love my female characters.
I was happy with.
In fact,
first-
I think from your screenshot, it's almost like you're in my game.
This is Malore over up in the top left of my screen. That's Malore. She's
the one
awful.
with the blue.
Maybe
Maybe
I
the one
do
in the
have
blue.
her. Yes, I got her.
She might be
I
my
have her.
least favorite character in the game.
Okay, I have her, but I'm not using her. She's on the bench. Okay, that's why I was like, I recognize her, but she's not in my party right now. Because I have like 9 or 10 characters. I've already benched like 4 of them. And I have my 6 that I'm using right now. Here's my thing. When I first booted up, the first 30 minutes, I thought this game was terrible. Let me just be honest with you. I'm now a little over 5 hours in. I actually would have played it more. It has nothing to do with like, not caring about the game or being distracted by other games. I've literally not been gaming the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like I'll jump in and play a game for like 30 minutes here or there, but I have not been locked into a game at all. This is probably my favorite game right now that I have been playing.
With this game, have either of you guys gotten to the part where you have to do like a war combat thing where it's like an open field war and you have
I'm still
like
recruiting
strategic.
people.
Okay.
I'm still recruiting people. I'm like, oh, you want to join the club?
You'll recruit people throughout the entire game just to get
there's like 120 characters I think you can recruit.
Well, that's the thing. But I'm like, what makes the game special? And everyone say you recruit 100 people. I'm like, all right, but are they all written well? Because so far most
they
of
are
them,
not.
Yeah,
I would say that's a no.
and,
I don't think that's possible for the small studio like that to write.
And then the second thing, like, like yeah, you have 100 character, but it's still turn based. You're still
Yeah.
giving a command like that. Like I
It's
want to know like what makes Suikoden special if it's just only character like Pokemon. Like what the fuck is that? I
I would say the only thing that's making this one special for me, I do like all the characters, like as far as like it is kind of like Pokemon where I'm like I want to go collect them all and then I want to create a team of badasses that I like. You know, like one of the
because
first guys I recruited was a samurai. He's pretty cool. Now, how I got him wasn't that interesting because he was like, "You need to do this for me," and then he just has like this small conversation with me. He's like, "You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna go with you." And I'm like, "I didn't even really sell you very well, and you're like telling me I have to go with you, and then all of a sudden you're like." You know what? You seem like an interesting guy. I'm gonna go with you. So I already knew the writing wasn't that great. I'm thinking the main plot might be interesting, um, which is what will keep. That's the two things that will keep me around. One, the main plot being interesting. Two, I actually like the combat. I like the special moves. I love like the friendship like moves or they're real like linked up moves. I think those are really cool. I find the boss battles to be fun.
Hmm.
Like they're little. What do they call them in the game? They tell you it's silly what they call them. They're like damn it.
I just call them
Anyways,
boss.
Do you mean the things where there's like certain things you can
yeah,
do to, yeah,
it's
like
dumb. It's a common word that you would think
Gimmick?
they would create a.
gimmick? Gimmick.
Yes,
That's what it
they
is. A
call it a
gimmick.
gimmick. They're like each boss fight will have its own gimmick, and you literally select gimmick, and it's like, oh my gosh, they really called this a gimmick. But but I enjoyed the boss fights so far. I think I fought two or three like bosses that have had gimmicks, and I've enjoyed them. I enjoy most of the battles. I enjoy navigating through the world. So I think the characters and the story will get me through. I also looked up how long to beat. It's like a 40 to 50 hour JRPG. That's not bad at all for a
No.
JRPG.
Compared to
Uh,
100 hours for a certain other game? No.
the only thing that would stop me from playing this is, of course, if I got distracted by another game, but it would only be if because there's only two difficulties. There's normal and hard. Um, if they try to pull their little Octopath bullshit where it's like, you're doing good, you're doing good, you're doing good, you're doing good. Oh, you're at the end of the game? You're not doing good. You need to go do 30 hours of grinding if you want to have a shot to beat this boss. And it's like, fuck you, Octopath. I hate you. And that was what I was going to talk to Jesse about. How does this game compare to Octopath as far as which one do you like more? You're playing Octopath 2 as well, right?
Right, yeah. So that's one thing I was going to say is that the struggle I'm having with this game is that every time I boot it up, all it makes me want to do is play Octopath Traveler 2. So I guess by default I'd have to say I like Octopath Traveler 2 more because that's the game that I just want to play.
I think there's two things. I think there's more than two things, but two things that stick out that make Octopath 2 better than
I
this game,
love
and
the
that
art
is
style in Octopath
I
Traveler.
was just gonna say that the graphics slash art style is top notch in Octopath. Plus, I like the combat better. I like the way, and I just booted it up again because even though I make jokes on the other show that I'm like, I beat the game. All I did was beat one story, which was my main girl's character. I beat her last boss. I finished her story. And then I tried to start finishing other people's story, and that's when I kept getting stuck. And I was like, "You're gonna make me grind." And I got 60 plus hours in it. You're gonna make me grind for another 20 or 30 hours. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
One thing I'll give Eiyuden Chronicles over Octopath Traveler is that when you put a player into your unit that's like deeply underleveled, it only takes like two or three battles, and then all of a sudden they're at your level.
Yeah,
Like the
that's cool.
leveling system in this game is great because you never have to worry about one of your characters being underleveled because as soon as they're in their party, a couple fights later, they're at your level.
Yeah,
Could
see
you
that one
imagine
thing I
trying to
like
level
too.
up 120 characters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, exactly. Yeah.
Well, one thing I did when I got Francesca, my party was like level 9
Hmm.
and she level 6. So we were doing like a mini quest in some canyon. I know that how every single enemy were going after her because she's the weakest. I'm like, dude, we're all here. Stop
The
picking up on
game's
her.
misogynistic, so they make all the female characters annoying, and they have all the enemies attack all the
But,
female characters.
but here the thing, I like Francesca. No, go hit the other girl, the Linoy. I hate her. Hit
Yeah,
her.
please let her die. She's just absolutely
She
annoying.
is.
Hey, let's do the same joke over and over. It's so funny. I started 2 days
She's
before you. I'm the
she's
senior. No, shut up.
she try she's trying so hard to be the comical relief that I want to quit the game by that point. Like, no, please no. But then came Gar, and
Gar is great.
I do
I'm
like
like,
Gar.
hello. I'm like, hello.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah. I bet
wolf.
you were. You had a
You're
little
like
Gaston boner, didn't
you,
you?
not that way.
Gar.
He was
So
cool. I'm
overall,
like,
I like the game. Sounds like Jesse likes the game. I don't think this is a Gaston type game, but is
I'm
your overall impressions that you like it or
I like it. I'm willing to play more of it. That's how I'm going
okay?
so
Well,
far.
that's actually a good thing.
Like I say, I did like almost 3 hours, so I barely touched it.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, you're 20 plus hours in. What are your thoughts on the story so far? Obviously, without spoiling it,
Yeah.
just like your impressions of the story. Is it worth playing, or is
Yes.
it something you're like, this is kind of dumb?
No, I think the story. I mean, the story's not doing anything we haven't seen in games before, but it
Yeah.
is an interesting story. It's all so far. It's all about the war between the Empire and these other factions, basically.
Okay.
And where I've gotten the point that I've gotten, I really don't think this will spoil anything. Is basically I'm trying to recruit other factions to my
Okay.
cause. Basically, it's what I'm doing right now, and I think it's compelling. It's an interesting story with interesting characters, a varied cast that you run into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the story it has kept me engaged, and it's probably why I haven't completely transitioned to Octopath.
Nice. I think I'm gonna keep playing it. I have no reason not to. I don't even think there's really anything coming out in May that I really care about. I know I'm
I mean,
buying Ghost of Tsushima
I'm
on
dropping both
PC.
of these for Hellblade for at least a day. I'll beat it, and then I'll go
Yeah,
back to these.
Yeah, I will definitely give Hellblade a shot. I don't know if I've seen enough to go. This could be a game I actually like. I didn't hate Hell. Let me say this: the original one, I will say that I hated it because I hated playing it. But the actual like overall game, I found to be interesting. So the only thing is I was hoping they would improve the gameplay. I don't know if that's what's gonna happen. I
Not the
haven't watched
impression
a
I'm
lot.
getting, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like they just kind of just went, "Hey, what
and
this
more of the same.
yeah, what we originally envisioned is not happening. You're just getting more of the same." And I don't know if that was a push from Microsoft like, "Guys, you've been making this game for like 5 years. Can we just can you just get it out, please? Copy and paste what you did before." Um, so let's end the show on just real quick. Any games outside of what we talked about tonight? Anything that you're playing, and just maybe quick impressions of those games, and do you recommend them to anybody who's listening? We'll start with Gaston first.
Recore, fucking
Okay.
Recore. We're doing Recore.
Well, okay. Well, we're
So
not starting
I'll
with
do two.
Gaston.
I'll do two. First, I would say
Delete.
I'm replaying Recore. I forgot how much I love the game. It's simple. Like on Game Pass, it's like a platformer.
I bought that game
Mega.
hoping it would be fun.
I did
No,
not hate Recore. The only thing that annoyed me about that game was the end. I never
Oh,
beat
you
it
beat
because
it?
of
the
well,
Oh.
no, I
difficulty
never beat
spike.
it because of what happens at the end.
The difficulty
Oh.
spike. The dungeon, right?
Yeah, and you have to go
Yeah.
back and do everything again, and it's like fuck
You
this
don't have to
game.
do everything. It's just that yeah, there is a
You have to
goal.
100% the game to be able to beat the game.
No, I didn't. I beat the game without 100% it.
Well, then you have a cheat.
No. The last dungeon is it require amount of a core that is annoying. I give you
Hmm.
that. But the difficulty spike can really push people off because, like Derek said in the other game, oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. And then you get to the one dungeon, you're like one shot dead.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you do, no, that area is a one-shot death. So,
I think that's old school game design, and it's
yes,
really terrible.
that
You
is
can't
really
get away with
terrible.
that crap anymore.
But I
It's terrible.
also see, I'm happy that I purchased, and like I own the game, I support it. But for someone, let's say whoever listens to it, try on Game Pass. If you like it, buy it. If not, at least you try it. The
I'm 99% sure I bought it. I'm
the
pretty
Pretty
sure I
one
sure I
bought
thing,
it.
did too. I
the
think it
one,
was a discounted game.
yeah, it
Yeah,
probably
I
is.
bought it.
The one
Um,
that I'm playing like legit main is they're gonna make Jesse happy. Not Dan. Dan will be mad. Final Fantasy 13.
well, it's a
That
good
game
game.
is great.
How
Honestly,
far are you
yeah,
into it?
I think I'm in the end of chapter 4.
Okay.
I
I
should
think
make
there's
a
14 chapters in that game.
yes, and I'm playing through slowly because I'm still learning and they still adding stuff new to it slowly into the game. So I should make it to I'm with Lightning and Hope. I don't like
Hope
Hope.
is obnoxious though.
Yes,
There's
I
some
don't like
Like I
Hope.
terrible
wish I
characters
could kill
in
him.
that. Yeah, there's some
Yes.
terrible characters in that game.
So that's a party right now, and there's a boss that can. I I think he should one shot me. So I would like, wait, what should happen?
Yeah.
But one thing at least I have hope is he can be a good medic while Lightning do all the damage.
Yeah.
Because when I have Vanille, she the best as a medic.
Yep.
I
I
love
think she sucks,
no,
if I
I
remember.
love it. I genuinely like
She's
her.
not a
Like
good character, but she's a good combatant.
exactly that how I see it. I like hope. So like the previous chapter, I have Vanille, Lightning, and Zaz. Zaz.
I like Zaz.
Yeah.
Zaz.
So
Yeah.
so like Lightning and Zaz are doing the fighting while Vanilla just popping, healing non-stop, and we're all fine.
Buffing and yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm just Lightning and Hope, so I'm like, oh, they're kind of worse now. It's kind of harder now.
Yeah.
But I do like it a lot. I don't sometimes feel annoying that the combat system is just one character you're using. So I feel like they holding your hand.
It's also obnoxious that if the main character dies, you lose. You
That why I
can't
hate.
revive them.
I remember telling Dan, is that legit the entire game? He said yes. I'm like, oh god, no.
Yeah, it's also annoying towards the end. First of all, it does open up a little bit, but it does the typical JRPG where it's like you're good, you're good, you're good, and then at the end, if you didn't grind, unless
Well,
you're
then the
really
thing,
good at those games, I got stuck. I got
Yeah, the
stuck. I
end
think at
boss can be
chapter
tough.
11. I got
well,
stuck at chapter
the,
11 on my
Oh.
PS3 save, and I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to beat that boss,
oh, when I'm
and I was
stuck,
stuck.
when I'm like the one, I'll end it with the one. There was a chapter with Snow. And you had to fight with the two. I call them Autobots because they look like fucking Autobots. And there was the timer. And when we get to 0, I died. I'm like, wait, what should happen? So I kept trying to fight it, and then I realized I look at a YouTube video like, no, all you have to do is field guard, pull up your defense, and you realize the other guy healing you. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they
So
have gimmicks. Some of the battles have
yeah,
gimmicks.
well now I'm in the new gimmick with Lightning and Hope, and this dude just slaughtered me 1 second. So I'm like, all right, so now I don't have to worry about a timer. I have to worry about that guy too. Like I'm kind of crew over, so I'm gonna look up a video because there's no way I'm gonna learn this as a dumb
So
person.
you're planning on to keep playing that.
Yeah, that's the main one I'm playing with
Okay.
Fallout 4.
Okay. All
So
right.
that
It's
me.
good. Jesse, anything outside of what we've talked about that you're playing too?
Yeah, the only other game that is a constant for me is Elder Scrolls Online. That MMO has definitely got its hooks in me. Play with my girlfriend all the time. It's honestly, it's honestly a great MMO. It's probably
Okay.
not doing anything that other ones don't do, but
Yeah, but once
it's
you get like hooked, you're hooked.
yeah, it's definitely hooked me.
Did you ever play Final Fantasy 14?
Nope, and I have to admit that after investing so much time into ESO, and now that I'm familiar with the way MMOs kind of function and work, I have been tempted to try Final Fantasy.
That was what I
I've
was gonna
been
say. Maybe try it with your girlfriend. She might like it too.
I've been
Yep.
playing a bit of that one too. Like that, like sometimes jump in.
I liked it at launch, and when I say launch, I'm talking like on my PS3.
So like the
Um,
original launch.
yeah, and I played it and I liked it, but it was still overwhelming. And then my biggest turnoff, and I had actually downloaded it recently, maybe like 3 months ago, is them charging monthly, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
No,
I
you
know
could
there's
pay.
free content, but
Yeah, that's how I'm
uh,
playing it.
I don't. I move on from games too much. Unless I was playing an MMO with a particular person like Jesse is, I'm not gonna stick with that.
Yeah.
My little relaxing MMO light game is Destiny 2. I love it.
Mm,
It doesn't require me to play with anybody I know, and it's just something when I'm like kind of in the space that I'm in now, where I'm like I don't really want to play anything. So even though I posted on social media that I finished The Last of Us Part 2, that was only because when it released, I played 20 hours of it. So I only had like 2 or 3 hours left. So I'm just not in a place where I'm really committing to anything. And so Destiny 2 kind of fits that. That's the type of game where I'm like, I can just turn off
yeah,
my brain and shoot things.
and like Diablo 4 for me.
Yeah. Anything else you're playing besides ESO, or is that your main?
Nope. That
Well,
and these
besides the
two
JRPGs.
pixel
Okay.
art games.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of stuff. The only thing outside of that
NBA
that I
2K. I do boot up NBA 2K every once in a while.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. I have a sports game that I've been slowly getting better at because when I first bought it, I was like, this was a mistake, and I think I missed it on. I definitely mentioned on Current Gen. I don't know if I mentioned on my show yet, but was I bought the 2K25 for tennis, Top Spin Tennis,
Huh.
um, because I freaking love tennis games back on my Dreamcast. So once I heard this was coming back and it was reviewing decent and it actually looked like a decent one. There's been other tennis games, but they're very like old looking. They don't look like they anybody invested any money or time in them. This one looks like close to being like a AAA experience. And it's just like NBA 2K. It's made by the same developer. So they have like create your character and go on tournaments and improve your character. So it has that set up. So I will say that is a game that once I get a little bit better at it, I will invest more time in it because it is genuinely, if you like tennis games, I think this is a good quality tennis game, and there's a lot of content. Other than that, I've probably played 3 or 4 hours of Stellar Blade. I'm not impressed. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's that good. It's not that interesting.
I thought you like women's.
She's hot, and I stare at her butt and her boobs. And I want to unlock sexy outfits. But as far as gameplay, world, all that stuff, it's okay. Maybe again, I'm kind of in a funk. Maybe when I get out of my funk, it might catch my attention. But for now, no, it's not that great. And then I haven't played a lot, but I have a like itching desire for it. So maybe this will be my game that I just kind of turn my brain off and play, and that's I downloaded on Steam Borderlands 3, and I started a new campaign of that. I like Borderlands 3 a lot. Is it
Mm,
my favorite Borderlands? No, but it kind of goes with Fallout 4. It's the most modern, so as far as gameplay wise, I want to play that one, not the older ones. But
uh,
it's definitely not my favorite. I like 2 and 1
Two.
way more.
yeah, two of the best, but I noticed that I feel like burned out from Borderlands. But I think I blame that because a lot of games are doing the looter shooter
Yeah.
thing that now I'm kind of worried like if there's a Borderland 4, will I be excited legit or
It would to me, and I think this would apply to you, Gaston. I think it all comes down to the writing and characters for
yeah,
those games.
because
So Borderlands 3 just didn't do it for me, writing wise. It wasn't extremely hilarious. It didn't have great characters. It had an okay plot, but it's kind of the same plot in all three of them. It's like, oh, there's this treasure, and I want to go get it. But what made 1 and 2 for me, first of all, 1 was so awesome. I have a lot of nostalgia. I played a lot of co-op with friends. It was a
Yeah, I
new
don't.
experience for me. 1 is special in my
One
heart.
one is special, but I should remember I cannot play that on PS3 anymore because I forgot how the frame should drop
Oh
instantly
yeah.
if you
That
use a
game's like
shotgun.
yeah.
And I'm sure, like, how did I pour in 200 hours to the game?
Didn't they
Well, we
remaster
had
those for newer consoles?
Yes, which
they
is the
did.
way you should play it.
Yeah. It's they're all of them are on everything. So
Yeah,
that's definitely a game that they re-release a gazillion times. Borderlands 2 is pretty special to me. I really like that one. I feel like the writing and the characters are the best in that one.
the
Some of
best with
their
the
side stuff, like I don't care about. The only Borderlands game I have not beat is it Tina's World, Tiny Tina's
I was
World.
gonna
Wonderland.
ask you what you guys thought of the Tiny Tina game.
That's the only one I can't beat because I
Okay,
just am not interested in it.
Yeah.
Wonderland, I did get it. I beat
Yeah,
it.
Wonderland.
For me, I wasn't impressed when I saw it, but when I play it, I actually really like it. But
See, I
once
don't
you
like the
beat
gameplay.
once
Yeah.
you beat the game, there's nothing to do.
Oh, okay.
You cannot replay the campaign. There's no end game. There's no raid. There are no dungeons, nothing like Borderlands 3 at least offer, and there are no expansion packs. So like
Hmm.
there were nothing of post content. It
I
was like
don't
these.
think it did very well, to be
Oh, I think
honest
it
with
did
you.
poorly.
No, I
Real,
think it
real
did. I
poorly.
think it probably
Yeah.
did poorly. But I'm
I
like,
don't even know. I know Borderlands 3 was a success. I just wonder if it kind of started going down compared to 2. But I just enjoy 3. Like I said, objectively, it's not written as well. It doesn't have as good characters. The villains could have been super cool. They ended up not being that cool. But I love the Borderlands franchise, so I'm
are
kind of
you
in the mood.
excited for the film?
Yeah, I think it will be cool. I
I hope.
don't
I
have
hope.
I'm not one of those guys who overly criticizes stuff unless you're awful bad. But I actually looked at the trailer or the introduction thing that they showed and I was like, this looks like this could be good.
I
So
hope
we'll see.
it's. I hope it's fun. That's all I'm asking for. And I'm worried because they have Krieg in the film, which is that my favorite character. I
Yeah.
love Krieg. He was the one I played into Borderlands 3 DLC with Krieg was the one I was looking for the most. So I see him. I'm thinking, these type of movie they tend to kill off a character. I'm looking at Krieg. I'm like, they gotta kill off him, isn't he? Like, I hope not.
It depends on how popular he is with players, but
Well,
we shall
here's the fun
see.
thing. There was a. I'll end it with it. There was an official voting for favorite characters, and he came top. So I'm like, all right, there's hope, maybe.
We'll see. Well, that, folks, is a wrap. We did a little bit of talking about games, but mainly Xbox. So I hope everybody listening enjoyed our conversation about Xbox.
Do you think Fab will enjoy it?
I don't think Fab will listen to anything that I put out unless it's my penis. All right, guys. That is a wrap. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
Oh,
Bye.
oh shit! I forgot to talk about Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, shut up.